We are back on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio, News Talk, 1180. My dictionary defines survives as to remain alive, to not die, to carry on despite hardships or trauma. Well, according to USA Today and the Washington Post and our local paper, Scott Walker survived. But oddly enough, he beat Mr. Barrett 53 to 46%, which oddly enough was the exact same percentage that President Obama beat Senator McCain by. So oddly enough, there's a little bit of a bias there in the media. So.
And the victory was a bigger margin this time than it was when he was first elected.
That's right. That's right. But yet he survived. So little play on words there.
He's one of the few Republicans that really stepped up and did what he said he's going to do when he said he was going to do it.
Right, but he didn't survive. He won.
He won.
You win by 7 points. That's not a survival. That's a victory. So, anyway, so we were going to talk a little bit about San Diego and San Jose. What happened in those two cities?
Well, you saw what's happening is, and now even when a Democrat, liberal gets elected, they get in there, they open up the books, and they say, "Oh my gosh." 27% of our budget is just pensions, employee costs. And when you add pension and employee costs, you're up to 83% of our entire city budget. And I'm not allowed to touch it because of all these agreements that have been made. And so I've got to go to the people because I can't get it done in my own council or whatever venue it is. So certainly, it's refreshing that some Democrat mayors, a lot of them former state legislators, put the laws in effect that these people are surviving off of. But when you hit reality, that's when you start doing the right thing. And so hopefully this will continue. But those are two big cities that are facing huge, and they're successful. My goodness, San Diego is still a tourism spot, but they can't pay their bills because the politicians agreed over the years with public employee unions for benefits. And I think I've mentioned this before. I have a cousin there who's a tree trimmer and maybe manages a tree trimmer group of guys for the city of San Diego. Well, ultimately, I asked him, when you retire, what's your pension going to be? And he said 89% of salary.
Wow. And
then I said, oh my gosh, how in the world can you get something that good? And he said, what do you mean? It was 99%. This was about 4 years ago. This was 99%, but San Diego's having money trouble, so we had to cut down to 89%. Now, who spends their career knowing they're going to get that? Well, people in government do.
Right. If I'd have known that when I was younger, I'd be in government today.
Trimming trees.
Do whatever it would take.
I just can't visualize Clay out there trimming trees.
Well, one thing about Cathy's cousin, though, you could ask him, he's worked for the city all these years, you could ask him, where's the best donut shop in town? He knows everyone. Where the best pie is, where the best
well, they're on the road all day.
Things are. Every restaurant in town, he knows it.
But you also look at it and say, why is it that cities have to employ tree trimmers? Why isn't this all contracted out?
Exactly.
That isn't why we elect city councilmen to pick and hire people to trim trees. You
or
do contract
county supervisors.
Work. Exactly. It should all be looked at as what's the least we have to do here, not what's the most we have to do.
Right.
It's going to be interesting in San Jose, for example. They have a Democrat mayor, is that?
Yes.
And well, let's watch what the unions do to their Democrat friend when he sticks his nose out there.
Well, they're already going to court. They already have the case.
Started their
it's already started.
Next morning. Right.
Yeah. So Democrat will find that he sticks his nose out. He's going to get it bloodied also by the union. So that'll be fun to watch.
Yes, it will be.
Well, we have Stockton, which is on the verge of bankruptcy.
Oh, yeah.
How many other cities in the state of California are on the verge of bankruptcy, not to mention the state of California itself?
Well, I think Zach Scrivener told us the other day the pensions in Kern County we're at 25 million 8 years ago, and are now what we owe is 250 million.
Yes,
that kind of jump.
Oh no, the deficit on the county pensions 1.6 billion.
Wow,
that's total gross. But I think Cathy is talking about just the year.
Just 1 year.
Just growth.
Yeah.
So it's happening everywhere because elected city and the Political Action Committee of Public Employee Unions, which I don't even see how those should be legal, that they organize through a taxpayer unit that we pay.
Thank you, Governor Brown.
Right, exactly. He passed that law too many years ago. But it's just a factor now that the politicians in most of these even small cities or big cities, first thing they turn to is the public employee unions for support. And I don't think any of us as taxpayers think that the goal of our elected city council people or county supervisors is to make life perfect for the employees versus for the county residents.
Well, and it sounds even sounds scary on the surface. I mean, you're looking at, Zach said that we're looking at $1.6 billion here, unfunded liability. In San Jose, they're saying it's over $1 billion. It'll probably go up to $2 billion by the time they really look at it. So these are just two cities. What about the rest of the state and the rest of the country? So how much unfunded liability can the system sustain before it collapses?
How much does California have? $500 billion.
Yeah.
For state employees' pension benefit,
now,
pension program, they're that much in debt.
How do we dig ourselves out of that?
Yes. Well, that's the question. How do we dig ourselves out of that? Can we? Is it possible?
And Jerry Brown, it's a pathetic figure, Jerry Brown. He's standing up there in front of us a couple of months ago, and he said, the money's just not coming in. The tax money that we expected is just not coming in. What are we going to do? Okay, you got your hands around the neck of the golden goose. You're strangling the golden goose. The golden goose can't lay any more eggs, and you're complaining that the golden goose isn't giving more eggs. You're going to twist her neck harder.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's pathetic. Lack of understanding, or else just blatant political lying.
Yes.
But the people have in this state and in this country do not anymore understand economics. They don't get taught in school economics. They don't understand even the basics anymore. So the politicians can just wrap them around their finger and make them bleed.
I totally agree. Our in-studio guests, political consultants, Mark and Cathy Abernathy.
Well, my biggest concern, Mark, is the apathy that we have in this country, not only, in Kern County, in the state, but in the federal. People don't really care. All they care about is how much are they going to get today. The other problem that we have is people want to get reelected. All they care about is how much is going into their pocket and how much power they have. So they're going to acquiesce to the unions. I think that's been the problem for many, many years. Would you agree or disagree with that?
Absolutely agree. Point the finger there back to Jerry Brown again when in his first term, his Moonbeam term, and one of the main things he did there, his big accomplishments, was he unionized state employees.
Yes. And
from there, it's downhill.
And he's increased the pensions to the prison guards since he's been there.
Sure, yeah. He has no anything during this term. I had this kind of hope that Jerry Brown stuck around all these years to get back to the governorship so he could fix what he did the first time and have a legacy that maybe it was more like his father's legacy. And I thought, this is why he has stuck, and he has come back and fought his way back, because he doesn't want the legacy of what he did the first time. But no, he's doing exactly the same thing.
Mark, I was going to say, you still believe in the tooth fairy?
I do still believe in the tooth fairy, but I don't believe in any good in Jerry Brown anymore.
Well, you still believe, excuse me, that Sarah Palin's going to be the presidential candidate, so you're a supreme optimist.
Yeah.
Well, I think Jerry Brown now has decided, because he can't buck the unions who control the legislature, is that his legacy will be this high-speed rail. And that's just a tragedy for all of us. It's a tragedy for all of us. That's why we've got to push so hard to stop that thing. But it's his state highway system is now this high-speed rail.
It'll be like Highway 58. It'll end at Rio Road.
Right, then you get out and get some real polluting bus and go the rest of the route.
Bakersfield will be the blunt of every joke if that high-speed rail is built, because this is where it'll stop.
Well, we'll never see it, so our grandchildren will have to face that.
Good thing
horrible.
Johnny Carson's not still around.
I was just thinking the same thing.
One comment I wanted to make, going back to Governor Walker real briefly. You saw how the unions came in and really pushed to get him out. And I go back to Zach Scribner to show how this county turned around a little bit, because the unions put a lot of money into the election to beat Zach.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
And he still won.
Right.
Oh, yeah. They put a huge amount of money into it, probably close to $500,000. We haven't been able to count it all yet.
Well, and to go along with that, when you look at the vote in San Diego and San Jose, the union lost by wide margins. Those were not close votes. So people are starting to get wise to what's going on.
Yeah,
Well,
but
we respect and we need our fire and our police, but we don't need the greed. And I wouldn't say the individuals came up with it, but their union reps, that's how they keep themselves going, is to get more and more for them. And so they say, well, I'm not going to turn it down. So this isn't an attack on the individual. It's an attack on what they have let their union become. Instead of saying, hey, I just saw this, I think, in the Wall Street Journal, where they did a feature about firemen and they were saying, we ride around in our truck and kids wave and, it's a big popular item. But now they say we ride around in San Jose, they're getting the finger. Now, that's about the fact that the greed has taken over. And I think for the police and for the fire, we do need respect for them.
Yes.
They better get in control of what their union's advocating at the expense of their neighbor. When the neighbor's paying their own insurance at 100%, also paying 100% of your insurance next door, that won't survive.
No, that's not going to fly. We're going to pick up there. We'll be back in a moment on Taking Care of Business on Koerner Radio News Talk 1180.